Welcome back, my friends. It is May 25th, 2023, and we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about, including major earthquakes, some of which we actually predicted here on this channel. We've got a 172 mile per hour peak wind typhoon making its way towards Taiwan. If you compare that to the Atlantic Ocean and a Cat 5, that is 155 miles per hour. So this thing is exceeding even the highest level of the Saffir-Simpson scale that we use to measure wind speed with cyclones, typhoons, hurricanes, all the same thing. Just depends on what part of the world they take place in. And of course, we are going to be talking about our sun and a growing sunspot that is becoming very concerning to a lot of people. We're going to talk about this one right here too, because this was actually visible from Earth with the naked eye, which is a super rare event. You definitely do not see that all the time, but it definitely took place, and it's still there and it's still visible. We've also got another possible invest going on in the Atlantic Ocean. We are just in the last week of May and we are already seeing the signs of hurricane season, which begins on June 1st. But what I want to do right now is talk about this earthquake that took place 9 hours ago, a 6.6 near the Panama-Colombia border region. Luckily, this thing did not cause any damage or really any significant effects to the area, but it's the point that this earthquake took place where it did. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but 2 days ago in a video, I discussed that we are going to start seeing earthquakes of large magnitude within the Caribbean Sea and even possibly the Gulf of Mexico. In fact, I'm going to play that short clip for you right now from that video from a few days ago, just to show you I'm not making this up. And here it is. We also can't forget 4 days ago, the 6.4 near Guatemala. That was a very, very concerning earthquake because we've been seeing a lot of action in Central America, and all it would take is this little push across this thin stretch of land, and we are talking about a major earthquake in the Gulf of Mexico, or at least in the Caribbean Sea, which would eventually affect the Gulf, no doubt about it. We've seen Jamaica have huge earthquakes. In fact, I feel like they are due for one. I don't want you guys to quote me on that, but I just have this strange feeling that near Jamaica and southern Cuba is going to get hit with something pretty strong soon, especially with what's going on with our solar weather. Alright, so there you have the clip. Now, the reason I brought that up is because we had an outrageous, completely active set of sunspots that was launching off M-class and X-class solar flares almost on an hourly basis. We also have this sunspot down here, which was actually visible with the naked eye. If you had a pair of those solar glasses that you used to watch eclipses from, you could easily see this sunspot on the sun itself just from standing on the ground, from basically anywhere on Earth, and that alone is rare enough. But when I talked about the earthquakes taking place in the Caribbean Sea or the Gulf, I was talking about this sunspot right here, 3311. It is almost and kind of breaking up as we speak, so we might not have to be worrying about that one too much, but this right here is a different story. We have another sunspot that is growing rapidly as it approaches Earth-facing, which is just as dangerous and could produce an X-class or M-class solar flare at any time. In fact, we just recently had an M-class solar flare. As you can see on this chart right here, it happened last night between the 24th and today, and it's not going to stop there, my friends. We are in a period of high solar activity. This is not going to go away anytime soon, and it's going to be something we're going to be talking about almost on a daily basis. In fact, we're going to go to spaceweather.com, and I'm going to read this to you like I always do. This is very interesting information. Take a look at this. Yesterday, sunspot AR3315 was almost invisible. Today, it is 4 times wider than Earth. The fast-growing sunspot is breaching the surface of the sun's southern hemisphere. Its rapid development could lead to explosive instabilities and solar flares. And just to be clear on what sunspot they're talking about, that is this one right here. This thing has been growing at a crazy rate, basically came out of nowhere, and that's how the sun works. At any given time, sunspots can just start forming on the sun, and they can become a very big deal, just as sunspot 3315 is becoming right now. And that does not mean that we need to forget about all these other sunspots. These are all very much Earth facing. If you take my cursor right now, that is basically where Earth sits as far as the equator of the sun and how we are lined up with the sun. So at any time, if any of these sunspots go off, including 3310, they will very much affect Earth, just as we've been talking about over the last 2 weeks. We have been getting completely slammed with solar wind, solar particles, and seeing large earthquakes as a result of it. Just to give you an idea of how strong the solar wind is right now, this is like some of the highest solar speed I've ever seen. We are pushing nearly 700 kilometers per second. That is the force being put on the Earth's magnetic field. Even when we hit numbers like 600 or 650, we have seen earthquakes as large as 8.0, even higher, including things like radio blackouts, internet outages. I don't know if a lot of you have been having issues with your internet lately. I have personally, but this is exactly what causes it. Our sun is a very controlling aspect as what happens on Earth, and that includes weather. And very quickly, that's going to bring me to Typhoon MAYWAR, which is at 172 miles per hour right now and may get even faster. We talked about this hitting 180 miles per hour, but this thing may even exceed that. Now take a look at what the forecast is right now. Look how close this thing gets to Taiwan and then just stops dead in its tracks and starts moving back out into the Pacific Ocean and then gets caught up in the jet stream that kind of borders Alaska and then heads towards the United States. Let's back that up one more time. I just want you to take a look at this. This is incredible stuff. We're looking at 913 millibars in pressure. That would exceed 190 mile per hour winds. We're not quite there yet, but that is what they are forecasting here on the GFS. But again, just the fact that this thing comes so close to Taiwan right there and then boom, hooks a complete right turn and heads right back out into the ocean. Hopefully that's what happens and we don't see Taiwan get completely destroyed by this typhoon. But nonetheless, this is a very, very interesting graphic. It is very rare to see something like this. It basically touches the coast and then boom, this thing takes off and is gone. Also, I want to talk about this southeast situation going on. It's only a 10% chance of cyclone formation in the next 7 days, but we got to remember, we are in the month of May. We have seen hurricanes in May. I do not believe this will become a hurricane. I believe it will become a significant weather event. But remember, hurricane season starts on June 1st, and that is when we start seeing hurricanes coming from the western coast of Africa. They come down the Cape Verde Islands, and then boom, along the warm water belt into the Leeward and Lesser Antilles, and then we get to see where they go, whether that's up the East Coast or if they go into the Gulf and the Caribbean. But we've already had 2 different disturbances in the last 2 days based on this low pressure system that's going through the southeast of the United States. And last but not least, I just want to talk about this earthquake that took place about 20 hours ago, a 6.2 near Indonesia, 103 miles deep. Now again, I repeat this constantly. When you get deep earthquakes, specifically 100 miles or deeper, you tend to see larger, more shallow earthquakes within a certain period of time. It's usually 2 to 3 days. So once again, the Southeast Pacific is going to be on high alert for large earthquake activity, specifically because of what we are seeing forming on the sun, specifically with sunspot 3315, as we talked about earlier in the video. This thing is growing at an alarming rate. In fact, I'll leave you with this. You're going to be watching in this area right here. That is where this sunspot is beginning to form, and as this video plays, you're gonna see it get bigger and bigger. This thing grows and grows and grows, and they turn into these sunspots that are capable of producing large solar flares. That is what we are concerned about. That is what we've been concerned about. And that is what we are going to continue to monitor as the day goes on and as the next few days go on. I'll give you a little freeze frame right there. And that is it right there. You're looking at it dead on. We're almost Earth facing. And again, that does not take away from the attention of these other sunspots that we have above and below the equator of the sun where the Earth sits as far as where we are lined up. All right, my friends, that is what I got for you for this morning. I know that was a lot of information information packed into a short video, but it had to be talked about, especially this earthquake down in the Caribbean. We need to keep an eye on this entire area, specifically with that sunspot we were just speaking about. We're going to start seeing earthquakes in places we are not used to seeing them, and in my opinion, it's not going to stop anytime soon. All right, my friends, I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Shout out to Canada, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye. Stop right there, my friends. If you have not already, click that subscribe button and don't forget to hit the bell icon. Click all and you will get all notifications from this channel. And trust me, you won't be disappointed.